All right, hey guys, welcome to the video. If you're new here, my name's Curtis, and today it's simple. We're gonna be talking about woody fragrances. Now, there's so many different categories of like woody fragrances. You could have like woody florals, woody chypres, woody gourmands, woody aromatic, oriental woodies. But I decided just to go through my collection and choose some woody fragrances that fit into these categories, but not necessarily focus on the category specifically, but just the topic of woody fragrances. And also I wanted to talk about fragrances that you don't hear a whole lot of people talking about, simply because they're good, I love them, and they deserve a little bit more hype because they really are wonderful fragrances in my humble opinion. All right, so if you're curious to hear my thoughts and opinions on these fragrances, then let's go. Before we jump into these fragrances, I just want to say, first of all, that I'm smelling amazing right now. Today, my scent of the day, I figured I'd share this with you today. My scent of the day is Rose de Jamal by Les Indemnidables, and it is the extrait, so it's the roll-on extrait. I didn't layer this one. Sometimes I'll layer this one with the Rose de Jamal, the EDP, this brown EDP. But today I just decided to just wear the extrait on its own. It's not any type of like big projection or anything like that. It sits close, but I can definitely catch whiffs pretty consistently. So man, this is such a gorgeous fragrance. If you haven't checked out any fragrances by Les Indemnidables, you definitely should. High quality stuff there. I'm a huge fan of that house. But yeah, Rose de Jamal extrait, perfection. First up, from the house of Amarude, we have Silver Birch. Man, so this is woody, earthy freshness. You get like a hit with a kind of a plump, juicy fig. So it definitely has like a green character to it. And what's also contributing to that kind of green freshness in a way, or kind of like green earthiness, is some vetiver. You do have some vetiver in here, which is really kind of holding down the base. And what's interesting about this fragrance is, the name is Silver Birch, but in the note breakdown, there is no birch listed in here. So I'm not sure where that's really coming from. But man, this is such a gorgeous wear. And this is one of those fragrances that is quite versatile. You can wear on during any season. Now, one thing that I will say is there also is a bit of leather here in the base. I don't really pick up on it so much. It is subtly there. I feel like if it was more prominent in this mix, then this would be very difficult to pull off like in those hot, humid temperatures. But I feel like I can pull this one off in the summers here in Japan as well, but just one spray in the evening. It's difficult for me to pull this one off during the daytime in the summer, but in the evening, it works a treat. But for all the other seasons, this one is perfect. Now, this, in terms of its performance, this one is quite strong. So I always have to go easy on the trigger with this one. 1 or 2 sprays, that's enough, because this is a room filler. But such a pleasant wear this one is. You just don't hear a whole lot of people talking about I think the house of Amarude, but even more specifically, Silver Birch. What a gorgeous wear from the brand. So yeah, definitely want to check out if you like kind of fresh, juicy, fig leaning fragrances that has a lot of depth and character. This one right here. So if you can, get yourself a sample of Silver Birch by Amarude. Next up, from the house of Maxine Perfume, we have Cafe Mystique. Man, so this one is just deep, rich, very opulent, quite the olfactive experience. Just very warm and resinous, very elegant fragrance in my opinion. This one has a nice blast of coffee. I think there are 2 types of coffee that are used in here. And then you have, this one sits on a base of, has some florals in it, but also sits on a base of kind of oud. A very woody kind of style of, I guess this would be kind of classified more of like maybe like an amber floral woody style of fragrance. But man, this one is absolutely gorgeous. And you don't hear a whole lot of people talking about this one at all. But if you are a fan of coffee, kind of darker style fragrances, and you like a bit of natural oud, this is definitely a fragrance to check out. Well, that's one thing I love about the brand of Maxine Perfume. It's just their use of natural ingredients. And you can definitely tell, like it kind of runs through the DNA of this brand, but when you spray this on, you can tell that these are different. These are different. And I remember that's the way I felt when I first smelled this brand. I'm like, man, something is completely different about this brand. Just their use of naturals, you can definitely tell. Quality stuff here, I highly recommend for those people who enjoy fragrances with a lot of depth and character. And if you're looking to be taken on a journey with your fragrances, like these, especially this one and some others from the brand, can paint a picture in your mind. Like this one, when I first smelled this one, if I recall correctly, this one puts me like in Southeast Asia, at a coffee shop in Southeast Asia. Like it kind of reminds me of my time in Vietnam a little bit, but yeah, stunner and definitely one to check out. So if you can, get yourself a sample of Cafe Mystique by Maxine Perfume. Next up from the house of Sarah Baker, we have Gold Spot. All right, so this one is like kind of like a gourmand woody style fragrance, but without being too sweet. You do get some nice kind of creamy, chocolatey, oudy, woody, I don't know how else can I say, and sexy, I guess. It's just such a nice balance of kind of like some slightly funky animalic oud and some sweeter gourmand notes, and those come together to balance out this fragrance perfectly. I mean, you are hit with a heavy blast of cypriol oil too. So if you're not a fan of kind of like cypriol oil, you can definitely pick up on it in here. And you know, like for me personally, like I'm not the biggest fan of gourmand. So I feel like if this didn't have that kind of like oudy, animalic, slightly animalic, it's not overly animalic, but slightly animalic backbone to this, I probably wouldn't like this fragrance just because it would be too sweet and kind of push into that style of like edible gourmand. But because it has that kind of oudy backbone, man, it's such a nice balance and such an easy wear for me. Gorgeous, gorgeous this one. Yeah, and like I said, kind of going in the other way, like it's not overly animalic to where it would be off-putting. Now I do know I'm speaking to my taste and what I enjoy. So I know for some people this fragrance could definitely be a bit challenging. But for me, it's not challenging at all. And kind of like I said, the balance here between those sweeter gourmand notes and that kind of woody, oudy base that this one has is absolutely gorgeous. I highly recommend this one. Yeah, such an easy wear, beautiful creation by Chris Maurice. I know he's perfumed quite a few fragrances for Sarah Baker, and yeah, he's just done masterful work here in my opinion. So if you can, get yourself a sample of Gold Spot by Sarah Baker. All right, next up from the house of Jeroboam, we have Miksado. Man, so woods, amber, and musk, that's basically what you get here. And if you're not familiar with the house of Jeroboam, they are the sister company of Javoy. So Jeroboam kind of sits in the shadows of Javoy a lot of the time. Javoy gets spoken about quite a lot in the community, but Jeroboam, not so much. But Jeroboam is such an underrated house in my opinion. And you'll find with Jeroboam fragrances, they have this kind of common white musk that they use as a base in all of their fragrances. And you can definitely pick it up on it in this fragrance. The musk in here though isn't necessarily animalic at all. It's just very smooth, almost creamy-like in a way. But man, the musks really shine in this fragrance. You can pick up on a bit of like almost like a minty kind of geranium in here as well. But it doesn't have too much of like a floral aspect, but that geranium and mint, almost kind of that mint, slightly geranium minty quality gives this fragrance kind of like provides a bit of aromatic elegance, I guess, in a way. But man, this one is so good, and this one is underrated. Miksado, you don't hear hardly anybody talking about, but this woody, musky, heavenly goodness is what this one is. Just very smooth. But this is a fragrance that, my image, I just feel like this is just a very elegant upscale wear. So this is a fragrance that I would wear with nothing less than a collared shirt. I just feel like it fits perfectly in that type of environment. But man, this is a gorgeous one and definitely one to check out. So if you can, get yourself a sample of Miksado by Jeroboam. And finally, from the house of Karine, we have Karine. All right, so now I know I've talked about this one quite a bit as recently on the channel, but it's just because it is that good. I mean, this really is kind of pushing into 10 out of 10 territory for me. That's how much I love it. But this is kind of a take on a woody chypre style of fragrance. This is absolutely gorgeous, and it's the perfect interplay between gardenia, jasmine, and patchouli. And if you split this fragrance down the middle, it's just the light and the dark and the balance between the two. And Dominique Ropion is a perfumer here. He has knocked this one out of the park. This is perfection in my humble opinion. Just very, I don't know, chic and classy, but being very modern. Yeah, he has nailed it with this one. Man, but this is a house that I definitely want to dive into a bit deeper. So I'm looking to get a sample set from them, and there are definitely some fragrances from this house that are on my radar. Haven't smelled, but I need to, after I get, just from the note description, I've heard other people talking about these fragrances that have definitely piqued my interest. If you are curious about this house, Eloise, I can't remember the name of her channel specifically, but I will link it down in the description below. She's kind of done a review of this house, so definitely check it out. I mean, this is one house that I feel like is definitely on the come up. I feel like more people will talk about this house once they've discovered this brand. Man, but this one is a stunner. Like I said, pushing 10 out of 10 territory for me. I love the wearing experience here. And like I said, it's just a nice balance between light and dark. And the patchouli is what give this fragrance some legs and some lingering power. This isn't like any kind of like heavily projecting fragrance. I would say you have moderate projection here. But this fragrance has a massive sillage. So yeah, like I said, the patchouli just kind of helps to give this fragrance some legs and some lingering power. But that patchouli combined with the florals here is heavenly. I'm telling you, it's heavenly. One of my favorites, especially as of recently. This is kind of a recent discovery for me, but yeah, definitely one of my favorites and one to check out. So if you can, get yourself a sample of Carine by Karine. All right, guys, so that's all I have for you for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed today's content. And let me know down in the comments section, what are some of your favorite woody fragrances that you're going to be wearing this fall and winter? I'd love to hear about them. Well, I hope you guys are staying healthy and well, and I'll see you in the next video.